Hello everybody. In today's video, we are going to be covering a long stretch of severe weather. Severe weather occurred yesterday. I unfortunately did not upload a video yesterday because I was with family. Uh, family from New Jersey wanted to come over to Eastern Pennsylvania and spend time with us. So I definitely appreciated and commended all of that time that they were with me and my immediate family. However, today the family has dispersed, departed back to where they needed to go, and now I'm currently making uh, a severe weather video about this chain of potentially dangerous meteorological happenings. Um, right now, we currently have a slight risk of severe weather to level 2 out of 5 in Texas, central and southwest Texas, and we have a marginal risk stemming from uh, the border, the Mexico border, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, into like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into Oklahoma City, into Norman, and then into places like Wichita, Kansas. Uh, we also have two other marginal risks that are unrelated. We have this one over here from Utah to Wyoming to Montana to Idaho, and that's basically just from a severe weather complex. And we also have over here this marginal risk, which this one specifically I want to cover. I'm not going to be covering the Utah risk because the risk for severe weather is very limited. This risk I really want to talk about because there is a potentially strong risk of tornadoes. Now, there's only a 2% risk of tornadoes that is in this marginal risk. However, there is a hashing, stippled delineation marker, demarcator, I should say. So that strong tornadoes are really, really important. Let's get into it. Uh, Also, before we actually do get into it, I want to take a minute to shout out this guy named Ed Hanna or Ed Hanna. I don't know how to pronounce his name, his last name, but it's Hanna, so probably Hanna. Ed Hanna from WFMZ. Um, he's a retired chief meteorologist, um, and worked with uh, National Weather Service affiliates, and also Channel 69 in Allentown. So uh, he had a conversation with me. To me, it was completely unexpected. I didn't really know that this would actually happen, and now I'm very, very shocked. Still a little bit nervous. Yeah, I got that aftermath, those nerves, those jitters, man. But the only way I could describe the conversation is productive. It was a very productive conversation. He really taught me a lot of concepts that I didn't already understand, or I only understood prematurely, or rudimentarily. So uh, I completely commend him, and I thank him so much. He thanked me for my studies, and so I'm really just super happy and super excited, and I really, really am just elated, jubilated, and rejuvenated. Mental clarity is high, and so yeah, let's get into it. So again, like I said earlier, we have a slight risk in central and southwest Texas and then you have a marginal risk going from the Mexico border to Wichita. And then you have two other marginal risks, one near the Rockies and then one in the northern United States near the Canadian-American border. So we have like I said, a 2% risk of tornadoes, but also that hatching, that stippled region, those lines, those black lines that are overlaid over the risk. That's the hatching, and that indicates that tornadoes could potentially be strong. Yes, infrequent, but potentially strong, even if the frequency is limited. There's also a 2% risk jettisoning from the Mexico border all the way up to Wichita, or you know, past Wichita, uh, up longitudinally near Kansas City. Like if you were to draw a line from Kansas City, uh, all the way around the globe longitudinally or latitudinally. I think latitudinally it would be parallel. So yeah, so it goes past Wichita, parallel to Kansas City, just west of it. Uh, so that's the tornado risk. The wind risk is what I what definitely concerns me, but also the hail threat, the hail parameters also concern me a little bit more than the wind does. Nevertheless, they're all very concerning hazards that people definitely need to be thinking of and preparing for. Severe weather is already happening, already coalescing. So yes, there's a wind risk, 15% wind risk from Texas, central southwest Texas, and then the marginal risk extends from the Mexico border to Wichita to parallel to Kansas City, and then the wind risk also is in Utah, Wyoming, what do you call it, Montana and Idaho, and also in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the extreme western upper peninsula of Michigan. Then the hail threat. The hail threat is more concerning than the wind threat because there's a severe parameter kind of thing, hatching. That's what I wanted to say. So again, it's from central to southwest Texas, but this time the area has kind of shrunk a little bit. So to compare the wind risk, here's the wind. The wind goes all the way out towards Lufkin, Texas. However, the hail threat, it's closer to Waco and Austin and San Antonio. It doesn't jet out so much towards East Texas. Uh, so the main hail threat is confined to just south central and southwest Texas, excluding Brownsville and Corpus Christi. However, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, Houston, Dallas, Wichita Falls, Abilene, Midland, Lubbock, Woodward, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Wichita are in the 5% hail risks, even if they aren't in the hatching region. However, what is also in the 5% hatched risk of hail, hatched, if I haven't told you already, but I have, hatching just means through weather. It's the severity of weather is increased, so there could be some dangers. Duluth, yeah, the Storm Prediction Center just automatically refreshes just to bring in the latest data. That it gets a little bit annoying, but once you get used to it, it's not that bad. Duluth is also in the 5% hatched risk of hail, so Duluth is in a hail threat, a tornado threat, and in a wind threat, albeit very marginal, so not going to produce the worst damage. However, I'm praying for those people in Texas. It shouldn't be too horrible. It shouldn't be that bad. In terms of tornado damage, hail damage maybe, and wind damage also maybe. You can only pray for the best. Expect the best, but also expect the worst. But you gotta expect for the best a little bit more than you expect for the worst. However, sometimes there just are those moments where you have to expect the worst. Prepare for the best, expect the worst. That's what Ryan Hall says. He is a great man. Anyway, I digress. Let's read the description. That is not what I meant to press. Let's read the description. So, we're gonna skip the 20Z update for now. We're just gonna go to. Oh Lord, that's a God, that's a lot of text I have to read, but I'm doing it for y'all. So the 20Z update is just this, the text that's on screen, and then the previous discussion is all of this. So boy, if my breath isn't taken away, I don't know what will be. Anyway, let's do this. Synopsis. Recent satellite imagery shows a pair of phased shortwave troughs over the plains, one moving through the Dakotas and another moving through Kansas and Oklahoma. Both of these waves are forecast to continue northeastward through the day, with the northern wave reaching northwestern Ontario and the southern wave reaching the Great Lakes region. This evolution will take these waves east-northeast of the higher low-level moisture, which will remain in a corridor from the southern plains northeastward into the upper Midwest. Showers and thunderstorms are anticipated throughout much of this corridor today, with highest thunderstorm chances across central and east Texas and from the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes. Farther west, an upper low is slowly drifting eastward across northern California. Guidance suggests this eastward drift will continue today, with several shortwave troughs rotating quickly through the base of this system and ejecting across the Great Basin and northern Rockies. Large-scale ascent and modest mid-level moisture associated with these waves will combine with cold temperatures aloft and associated buoyancy to support thunderstorms today from northern California across the northern Great Basin and northern Rockies and into the northern plains. Southern and central plains. This includes Texas and all the way up to Wichita, that marginal risk. So the slight and the marginal. Much of this region will be displaced south and west of any notable large-scale forcing for ascent. This limited ascent, combined with the showers and isolated thunderstorms currently ongoing across central and east Texas, complicates the overall forecast today, with mesoscale factors likely contributing significantly to when and where storms develop this afternoon and evening. General expectation is for development along the southern and western periphery on the ongoing storms, i.e. from southeast and south-central Texas into southwest Texas, later this afternoon and this evening. This redevelopment will be supported by a combination of moist advection, modest heating, and limited low-level convergence. Moderate to strong buoyancy amid moderate vertical shear could support supercells if the mode remains discrete. However, the weakness in the mid-level flows suggests storms may tend to cluster, a scenario that is supported by most convective allowing model guidance. Buoyancy and shear are still strong enough to support rotating updrafts and large hail early in the convective cycle, but the trend towards a messy convective mode could limit the persistence and coverage of robust updrafts. Damaging gusts are possible, even with the clustered storm mode, especially given there is some potential for slightly more organized bowing segments over time. Farther west, mid-level height rises and subsidence are anticipated, coincident with the dry line from central Kansas south-southwestward across western Oklahoma and west-southwest Texas. The environment, characterized by 1,500 to 2,000 joules per kilogram of mixed layer convective available potential energy and 30 to 40 knots of westerly deep layer shear, is conditionally supportive of supercells capable of all severe hazards. However, the previously mentioned height rises and subsidence, combined with modest convective inhibition, are generally expected to preclude thunderstorm development. Even so, given the conditional risk, marginal risk probabilities will be maintained. And then Minnesota and Wisconsin. Recent surface analysis places a low just west of FAR, F-A-R, with a warm front extending, I believe that's Fargo, if I'm not mistaken, of FAR, with a warm front extending southwestward across central and southeast Minnesota and southern Wisconsin. This low is forecast to move eastward today, while the buoyancy could develop from north-central Minnesota into far northwest Wisconsin as dew points increase in the upper 50s, perhaps even low 60s. Thunderstorm initiation appears possible along the cold front within this corridor, although veered low-level flow and northward and westward displacement of the better forcing casts doubt to whether updrafts will be maintained. I am all over the place today. Any thunderstorms that do mature within this warm sector should become supercells capable of all severe hazards, including large hail and tornadoes. However, low confidence in storm development and maturity preclude higher probabilities with this outlook. We're not really going to read about the northern Rockies because it kind of really doesn't say much. Now, this is where the real threat comes in. The real threat. You guys haven't seen an enhanced risk yet, right? Or at least I don't think you have, especially after the Storm Prediction Center did the graphic update. Boom, here it is. Lord have mercy. So, there it is. The orange is the enhanced risk, the yellow is the slight risk, and the green is the marginal risk. Almost the entire state of Wisconsin is under either a slight risk or an enhanced risk. Basically, the whole state of Wisconsin has a very likely probability of getting severe weather, with the highest probabilities being in northern and central Wisconsin to central Minnesota. So remember, an enhanced is a level 3 out of 5, so we're taking the severe threat to the next level. It's not going to be good. It really isn't. So here, the tornado outlook is definitely more concerning. We have a 5% hatched risk of severe weather up in Minnesota into Wisconsin, and a 2% extending into Lake Michigan, also into northern Iowa and extreme eastern parts of South Dakota. This is more concerning than the tornado risk that we saw uh, for today because uh, there's a 5%. The 5% essentially tells people that a higher probability of a general tornado spawning is likely. There's a higher likelihood of a tornado spawning, and the higher the likelihood, the higher the chance that also that tornado will be strong. So that's why it's more concerning. But that's not even the biggest picture of the story or the biggest thing occurring. There's also is a 2% risk of tornadoes extending from the Mexico border to the Kansas-Oklahoma border. So, yeah, there's a marginal risk from Mexico to the Oklahoma-Kansas border. So, cool. So there's the tornado outlook. The wind outlook is pretty much the same for the southern mode. The northern mode just shows an extensive threat of severe weather. Not necessarily a derecho. A derecho would definitely be way more powerful, and there would be a way more amplified signal. This isn't wind predominant, meaning that wind won't be the primary threat of what's going on. However, there will be a general wind threat, and that extends from, the Minneapolis-St. Paul region all the way down into northeast Iowa, into most of central and southern and western Wisconsin, and a very small sliver of northern Illinois, not including the Chicago metro. But then we have the hail risk. Now, the hail is concerning. With the southern mode, there is a hatching for like the whole region. So if any supercells can get updrafts going, they can either rotate or be strong enough to support some extensive hail. Up here, though, up in the northern mode, there's a 30% risk of hail with a hatching indicator. That's not a great signal. That really isn't, because that means that hail can damage cars, can damage homes, can majorly hurt or kill somebody. And I'm not trying to sound stark, but it really is just very dangerous, this signal. Hail can be 2 to 3 inches, and that sucker can kill you if it lands in your head and it's falling from thousands of feet in the air. I'm not trying to be harsh, I'm just being realistic. What could happen? Now, is it gonna happen? No, I mean, hopefully, people are, smart enough, have the brains to know to get to shelter, to stay inside a building, to not go outside under any circumstances. So I really, I really hope that people are intelligent enough for this, because some people still unfortunately die from severe weather. Again, it's wrong place, wrong time, but it's also perpetuated by your decisions that you make. If the decisions that you make are negative, it could have a negative outcome on your survival probabilities. It's kind of all I'm saying to you. After we're done with this, we're gonna just take a quick break to go back to the 20Z update because I just realized that I did forget to do that. I do apologize, so we're gonna go a little bit back and forth. I mean, I'm very much back and forth today because, what happened with talking to Ed and everything. But it's not a negative thing. It's a great conversation that we had. Absolutely wonderful. Amazing. Definitely a very wonderful guy, and I commend him so much. But yeah, there's a 30% hatched risk of hail from northern and central Wisconsin into the St. Paul, Minneapolis area, into central and southern Minnesota. So yeah, let's read the description. Summary. Severe thunderstorms are likely across the upper Mississippi Valley and Great Lakes region with a potential for large to very large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. A more conditional and isolated risk for severe thunderstorms is possible across portions of the southern plains on Monday. Synopsis: a southwesterly flow regime will continue from the southern plains to the upper Midwest on Monday. Low-amplitude upper ridging will move across the upper Midwest during the day ahead of a shortwave trough moving across the northern plains. The shortwave will shift east across the Great Lakes overnight. Meanwhile, an upper trough from the northern Rockies to offshore the southern California coast will pivot eastward towards the Four Corners region. At the surface, low pressure near the South Dakota-Nebraska border will develop east along the Minnesota-Iowa border to central Wisconsin. Lee troughing will persist across the plains. A dry line will extend southwest from the mid-Missouri Valley into western Oklahoma and Texas, while a warm front extends from southern Minnesota into southern and central Wisconsin. These boundaries will become a focus for severe thunderstorm development during the afternoon and evening. Alright, upper Midwest. Along and south of the surface warm front across Minnesota into southern central Wisconsin, strong daytime heating will be occurring amid dew points in the low to mid-60s. This will yield moderate to strong instability with mixed layer convective available potential energy levels around 2 to 3,000 joules per kilogram. That is a lot of energy being stored in the atmosphere and will literally cause thunderstorms to explode. A plume of steep low to mid-level lapse rates will also impinge upon the region through the afternoon. Capping will likely suppress thunderstorm activity for much of the day as the shortwave upper ridge moves across the region. By the late afternoon and early evening hours, a shortwave trough will overspread the region with an increase in the low-level jet. Thunderstorm activity is expected to develop with initially elevated supercells, likely given strong deep layer shear and thermodynamic profiles. These will be capable of large to very large hail, some over 3 inches in diameter, 2 to 3. Should any supercells be able to anchor to the warm front and become surface-based, the threat for a tornado or two, possibly strong, will increase given large clockwise curved photographs indicative of favorable low-level shear. An enhanced risk was included with this outlook driven by the hail potential. Convection will spread eastward with time into Michigan, continuing to pose a risk for hail overnight. And then the southern and central plains, a conditional severe risk will extend further down the dry line into the central and southern plains for the afternoon and evening. Strong daytime heating will yield very warm temperatures ahead of the dry line, but most convective temperatures are near or exceeding 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Forecast soundings indicate strong capping in place across much of the region through the afternoon, with generally weak forcing for ascent outside of the dry line circulation, which will likely inhibit a more widespread severe risk. Nevertheless, moderate to strong instability will overlap, increasing deep layer shear as the low-level jet increases through the evening. An isolated supercell threat will be possible along the dry line with greater confidence along the Red River in northern Texas and southwestern Oklahoma and further south into Texas near the Rio Grande Valley. Should supercells develop, the main risk will be large to very large hail, some over 2 inches in diameter. We're going to go bounce back to the day 1 risk because the 20Z update came out and I totally glanced over it. 20Z update, Central Texas. Filtered diurnal heating in the wake of earlier showers and thunderstorms across much of central Texas was supporting moderate destabilization this afternoon. Remember, this is Sunday, April 12th that we're talking about on screen as of right now. While mid-level lapse rates are generally poor, sufficient destabilization should support a gradual uptick in convective coverage this afternoon and evening. With moderate deep layer shear in place, some organization could support a risk for damaging winds, hail, and a tornado or two. Minnesota and Wisconsin. The aforementioned warm front continues to surge north, but has slowed farther south than earlier guidance. Weak to moderate destabilization along and just south of the boundary will remain supportive of a conditional supercell risk this afternoon and evening. Strong shear profiles east of the supercell low and near the rapidly modifying boundary could support a risk for hail and possibly a tornado. have shifted severe probability southward slightly to better match the observed frontal positioning. See mesoscale convective discussion number 390 for the latest information. We're not going to look at that. Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas Panhandle. A conditional risk for a supercell or two remains evident this afternoon across the dry line in the central and southern plains. Ample heating in the wake of an early morning mesoscale convective system could allow for isolated thunderstorms this afternoon or evening, as the dry line is forecast to mix eastward before eventually retreating. Forecast guidance continues to show weak subsidence suppressing convective development, but deepening cumulus is evident over the southern Texas Panhandle, and that could support an isolated thunderstorm this evening. All severe hazards would be possible. And then the Intermountain West we're not going to read. So yes, just to recap, this is Sunday today, this is Monday tomorrow. So some cities in the enhanced risk include Minneapolis, St. Paul, Bloomington, Plymouth, and Brooklyn Park, all in Minnesota. You could see Minneapolis and St. Paul are in the enhanced risk. In terms of the slight risk, Green Bay, Milwaukee, La Crosse, and Madison and Rochester and Racine and all those cities in Wisconsin and Minnesota are in the slight risk. And the marginal risk extends from Chicago to Detroit to Grand Rapids, also includes Duluth, Sioux Falls, and Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, and Abilene. And then we still have more after this. We have Tuesday's severe weather risk. So Tuesday contains a slight risk from central Texas all the way up through Oklahoma, through Kansas, eastern Kansas, into central, northern, and western Missouri, into the southeastern quadrant of Iowa and South Iowa, also including central and northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, central, southern, southeastern, and southwestern Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio, specifically northern Indiana and northwest Ohio. So some places involved in this in the slight risk include Abilene, Wichita Falls, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri, Hannibal, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, Fort Wayne, Peoria, and Springfield. That is a lot of people. A lot. Also Grand Rapids and Salem, Michigan, I think is in this. And then in terms of the marginal risk, it extends from the Mexico border all the way up to Vermont. That is a lot. A lot. Some places included in the marginal risk include Springfield, Illinois, Springfield, Missouri, Wichita, Kansas, Omaha, Nebraska, La Crosse, Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, St. Louis, Missouri, Cleveland, Ohio, Buffalo, New York, Rochester, New York, Watertown, New York, Burlington, Vermont, Albany, New York, and Binghamton, New York. So Binghamton, Albany, Burlington, Buffalo, Cleveland, all those National Weather Service offices are included in the marginal risk. Almost all of upstate New York, well, I mean, you could say all of upstate New York is under a marginal risk of severe weather. Won't be that horrible. Obviously, there are refinements to come, so things will get updated. In terms of severe weather, wow, I actually didn't look at the probabilistic outlook. There's a hashing of severe weather all the way from Mexico to Chicago, or just short of Chicago. Yeah, just short. You could basically say it's the outer side of Chicago. So western Chicago, you see the lined areas, the stippled region. That's where the greatest severe weather probabilities corridor it is. So, yeah, anyway, let's read the update. So, synopsis. The western United States trough will eject across the Rockies on Tuesday, with strengthening westerly flow overspreading the plains into the Great Lakes region. A surface low will deepen across western Kansas and Nebraska. God, my throat is like, ugh. with a warm front lifting across the lower Missouri Valley into the Great Lakes and sharpening dry line across the southern and central plains. A cold front will sag southward across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes vicinity. The surface trough and dry line and the boundary across the Great Lakes will become a focus for thunderstorm activity through the forecast period. The lower Missouri Valley to the Great Lakes. Convective coverage will overlap the start of the period near 12Z on Tuesday across portions of the Midwest and Great Lakes region. Trends are for relatively quick clearing across portions of central Iowa into Illinois. As the warm front lifts northward, strong daytime heating is expected amid dew points in the low to mid-60s. It is likely the air mass will recover with potential for moderate to strong instability by the afternoon. Stronger height falls are not expected across the region as the main upper trough will be focused well to the southwest. However, warm advection atop a southward sagging surface boundary should support isolated to scattered thunderstorm development by late afternoon and evening. The primary risk will be large to very large hail, some over 2.5 inches in diameter, and damaging winds. By the late afternoon and evening, 700 millibar flow will strengthen from 50 to 60 knots, with a plume of steep low to mid-level lapse rate nosing into central Iowa, northern Illinois from the southwest. The 850 millibar low-level jet also increases, with large clockwise curved photographs developing with the resulting increase in low-level shear. If supercells can develop and maintain residency along or south of the warm front, a corridor of greater tornado risk, a couple of which may be strong tornadoes, may present itself. Consideration was given to a 30% area, primarily hail-driven, with some uncertainty remaining in morning convection and coverage of thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening. The 15% chance was maintained with this outlook until more information can be gleaned from high-res guidance. Southern Plains. Ahead of the dry line across the southern plains, strong daytime heating is expected. Large-scale ascent will begin overspreading the region by late afternoon and evening as the western upper trough finally begins to eject eastward. As this occurs, mixing and convergence along a surface dry line should support storm development by around 0Z, 7 p.m. Central Time. If little convective development occurs on Monday, a relatively undisturbed, moist, and very unstable air mass will be in place. It is likely that rather robust thunderstorm development will occur along the dry line, with the primary mode being supercellular. Large to very large hail, 2 to locally 2.5 inches plus in diameter, damaging winds, and a couple of tornadoes will be possible. Given deep layer shear profiles have more of a parallel component to the dry line, storm interaction may keep the period of more discrete supercell thunderstorms relatively short, with a shift to clusters of mixed mode supercells and multicells. Wow. So, there's a lot to talk about. But, we still have more. So we have the day's 4 through 8 outlook. And there's still a lot of severe weather. I don't understand. I just don't understand, just back to back to back, like. So, we're just gonna take a look at this little replay here. You see day 4, and then day 6, there are some severe weather components. So let's go to day 4. Day 4, there is a slight risk equivalent, a 15% risk of severe weather from central Texas to the Chicago metro to Milwaukee and to southern Wisconsin. That's just a lot. And then skipping over day 5, we have day 6. So this is day 4, this is Wednesday, and this is day 6, and this is Friday. We have a slight risk equivalent, another one from central and southern Oklahoma into northwest Arkansas, into central, northern, and western Missouri, into central and eastern Kansas, into southeast Nebraska, into much of the state of Iowa, including the southwestern, southern, southeastern, eastern, northeastern, north central, and central Iowa, into extreme portions of western Illinois, into southwest Wisconsin, and southeast Minnesota. There's nothing after that, thank God. Thank God. So, this is Wednesday severe weather. Day 4, Wednesday, southern plains to southern Wisconsin. An upper trough will be oriented across this or over the central and southern high plains Wednesday morning. This feature will shift east to the Mississippi River by Thursday morning. As this occurs, strong deep layer southwesterly flow will overspread a moist and unstable air mass from Texas toward the Great Lakes. Some convection may be ongoing Wednesday morning, resulting in some uncertainty regarding air mass recovery and convective evolution during the afternoon and evening. However, persistent southerly low-level flow ahead of a dry line and continued warm advection should support areas of air mass recovery. A mix of supercells and linear segments will be possible, posing an all hazards severe weather risk. Thursday, day 5. Severe potential should be lower on Thursday as the upper trough weakens and it shifts east across the Ohio Valley. Widespread showers and thunderstorms will be possible from parts of the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley into the Tennessee Valley, with modest instability and limited heating tempering severe potential. Day 6, Friday. This is where the reinvigoration of severe weather occurs. Medium range guidance has been fairly consistent the past several forecast cycles in bringing a large-scale upper trough eastward from the Rockies into the plains Friday and Friday night. This should result in surface cyclogenesis across portions of the upper Midwest, with a trailing cold front extending into the southern plains. Ahead of the front, a seasonably moist and unstable air mass will be in place beneath strengthening southwesterly deep layer flow. This should support a severe risk ahead of the front. And then Saturday into Sunday, days 7 and 8, the upper trough will continue east over the eastern U.S. on Saturday and Sunday. Stronger ascent will shift northeast into Canada. Deep layer flow parallel to the surface front and a narrowing warm sector should limit severe thunderstorm potential. Now, that was a lot to talk about. I'm winded. All I'm going to say before I end the video is please be prepared for some major severe weather in Wisconsin, into the plains, into the Midwest, and the Mississippi Valley today, tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. There will be some marginally lesser severe weather on like Thursday and Saturday and Sunday, and so that really shouldn't affect anybody for now. However, updates are to come. That was my severe weather prognosticating and forecasting based on sort of ancient center data, so I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day.